Okay, we are live. Yay. And we only have a week left of Trump in office. Yeah, and reality, we all know he's been out of office for several weeks. Yeah, he hasn't been seen or heard of, but on rare occasions when he's forced to read from a script. And so that when he does that, you know, he's actually not doing this for anybody in the world other than the prosecutor. Yeah, he has to have this down on tape, yeah, as though he's saying this to everybody. Yeah, and by him saying that, it implies he's saying that, but he's not saying it. He would never say any of those things. Yeah, but they're script. Yeah, and it's for when he gets to court, you know, and is prosecuted for this thing of him being kicked out. Yeah, when he goes into court over that, he's going to have his attorneys, and he has to build a case, and that's what he's doing. Yeah, he's doing his videos to build a case. Yeah, he's not coming out and saying shit because he really needs to build a case and not destroy his case. So every word and everything he does destroys his case. By him even going to Texas, standing next to the wall and talking about how he lost, but he didn't lose. And that it's a corrupt, you know, considering, you know, what has happened. And really what he has to say is that he has to actually show people how he knows it's not corrupt. And that it was just a plan. That's what he does. There's a lot of people who know this guy, yeah. And the guy who wrote his book, you know, The Art of the Deal, he in 2016 sat with a bunch of people, you know, and they're all going, "Well, he's going to be president. You wrote the book, and now you're coming out saying, you know, you shouldn't have liked this guy. I know, yeah, I wrote the book. He didn't write it, I wrote it. You know, so I got to know him. I got to meet with him. I got to see what he behaves like and how he behaves, and the way he thinks is that if you lose in an election, you immediately say you won. Immediately, yeah. If the votes are not going your way, you immediately say that the votes are tabulated wrong, you know, and it's corruption. Yeah, these are immediate things, whether he's going to an attorney and he's fighting for a specific case, he has ways in which he's going to respond, and he never loses. So he has to constantly say, no, we didn't lose. No, we're always doing great, really great, better than ever. Better than anybody in the whole world. We're doing so great. The numbers are fantastic. You're never going to believe how great we're doing. You know. And then, you know, like, you know, Taj Mahal, you know, his, you know, the thing, you know, and, you know, it just goes to bankruptcy and it doesn't even get completed, you know. And even on the day of the first opening, most of the slot machines didn't work, you know. And he gets on the news and they're going, what's going on? You know, a lot of your slot machines don't work, you know, and the place isn't even finished. You know, he goes, oh, no, the slot machines work. It's just that they work so good that people were paying out and that, you know, they overused them. And it was the abuse to the machines that caused them to break, you know, or caused them to short out. Yeah, so he says, it's really great. And you just imagine what happens when it finally starts not breaking down like that. Yeah, it's going to be great, just great, better than ever, better than anybody else, better than anybody. Yeah. And then every day, as time goes on, it's depleted and it breaks down. Now, it's an eyesore, and they have to tear it down. They can't sell it to anybody. No one wants to buy it. You know, people are getting out of the gambling business. You know, it's not a lucrative business anymore, especially right now, and not for the future, you know. So there's some dramatic things going on for this poor man. He used to be the guy who had the PGA. Yeah, and he not just one but two, but the biggest one was the one that really pays him big bucks, and it gives him credibility, all this stuff. Well, those contracts were completely eliminated. And all of his contracts in New York have been eliminated. A lot. 2 skating rinks in downtown, in the area of Central Park. The carousel of Central Park, the most used carousel in the world. And those skating rinks, all the time they're used. And all of that, contracts, null and void. You no longer own these places. And to a golf club in New York, he too can't have anything to do with it. His daughter and Jared decided to move to Florida, in an island setting, an island in Florida. And it's a place where everybody has to be a millionaire. All the houses are multi-millionaire houses, and everybody's got an acre of land, and it's just dramatically wonderful. It is paradise for the wealthy, mainly because it has the best club for millionaires. Super duper club, super duper restaurant, super duper rich people you get to hang out with. That was their plan. We're moving into this place. We're going to pay a lot of millions of dollars, and we're going to get this beautiful location, and we're going to get into the club, and we're going to have a life. Well, the club has banned them. They're not allowed in the club. They're not even allowed to sign up and apply for the club. Not allowed. Because they're terrorists. A family of terrorists. And all the things that he says he's never done and he can't do and wouldn't do, he did, and people are getting wiser. His neighbors are getting wiser. They don't want him back in Mar-a-Lago. They have a contract stating that he would not live in Mar-a-Lago. So he really can't go back there. But that's his plan. Everybody thought, well, maybe he'll move someplace else, stay in there. But no, come to find out, over the last couple of days, we found out that he's actually moving into Mar-a-Lago, And that's just another really stupid thing to do. I mean, the man is the stupidest person you'll ever come across. His decision-making process is beyond anything, of compatible toward reality. He's a man who wants to go to war. And let me tell you, he's going to get it. He's going to get war beyond his wildest dreams. And it's all of society. The whole of society is having a wake up. Who they have in their midst and what is going on. So we know that he's gone through the process where he's no longer going to be president. Not just because he lost the vote, but now he's twice. And that's never happened before. And it's signed, sealed, and delivered, so that's done. Maybe you can get a copy on eBay. I'm going to look for it. I would love a copy of that. Both of them. Right here on the wall. Trust me, it'll probably be there in a couple of months, because somebody will sell it now that I'm talking about it. Somebody will get a copy. Somebody will put it on eBay, and I will get it, and so will you. It's a great thing to have around. So the process is that as the investigation goes on, they kind of find out that the people who were moving into this complete takeover, and violence toward everything, it was set as a design, to kill people. There were Molotov cocktails, there were bombs, they were put in position. They actually put in position around the White House. You know, they weren't left in cars. Molotov cocktails were left in the back of a truck or a car, and it wasn't taken to the scene. Yeah, but people had guns, people had shit, people had pipes, they had bats, they had picket forks. Yeah, running around. You know, it was incredible, incredible. And as we see the scene, you know, we watch, 30 policemen, trying to hold back everybody. And they're getting the shit beat out of them. And the only thing that they can do is stand at a doorway and block it. And here you could see them trying to come in, thousands of people pushing, these police pushing and pushing, yeah. And the police are pushing back, and they're trying to close the door, and they can't get the door closed. And they got batons and bats and shit banging on the police, yeah. And they're ripping masks off of a police officer, yeah. And they're crushing him between doors, yeah. And all this gets on video. It's amazing. But it's where the people who went there, that's where their minds were at, yeah. And they were led by Trump. Yeah. So there's a number of people who've been talked to. Their lawyers have been talked to, asked what made these people do this. Because there's people who's being sued right now. And they're being asked, why'd you do this? What's going on with you? This is crazy. Every single one of them says, I did it because Trump told me to. Yeah. I did it because none of you believe in the president, and that's terrible. And Trump said that that's terrible. Yeah, and we have to stand up and fight. Yeah, we have to fight for this because they stole the election. Stole the election. We can't allow this election to go forward because it's a lie. It's a steal. And these people, in their hearts, they believe it because they're patriots. If you imagine what is a patriot, a patriot is a person who lives in a country, who believes in that country and wants to instill patriotism into the country, which means that it's a nationalist. Yeah, they're focused upon that country, and that's not a good thing. It's something that happens in the immature state, yeah, but not in a mature state. In a mature state, we're United States, yeah. And a lower place were patriots of Illinois and patriots of Texas, patriots of California. And talk to the president. President hates California because it's a place that doesn't fit his way of being a patriot. So he thinks every state is a blue state or a red state. And that has to do with patriots. These are evil patriots. These are good ones. These are people who are socialist and communist, who actually are not patriots. Emphasizing patriot and emphasizing they're not patriots. Yeah. And people who are not patriots are going to steal the election because they're not really standing up for democracy. They're not standing up for the nation, for the country, for the flag, especially the president. Yeah. Because in a place like that, when your mind is real small and you're thinking in terms of very small understanding, yeah, and you could be misled in a lot of ways. And when that president, is lying to you, because the people he loves the most, and he says this, the people I love the most, who vote me in, are the uneducated. Screams it out. I love the uneducated. Yeah. Yeah. Because I can tell you anything, and you'll believe it. Yeah. Coal's coming back, people. Yes, sirree. Promise you, coal's coming back. Vote for me, and I'll bring you coal. Yeah. And they believed it. And there isn't anybody in the world that thinks that way. Yeah. And these are people who are having a hard time not thinking that way because they live in a coal mining area. It's really difficult for them to let go and learn and come out of it. Yeah. And he used that. Yeah. He used people's weaknesses. He did everything to force people into a process of being a cult. Yeah. And his way of talking brought people together in relationship to QAnon. Yeah. And, you know, white supremacists. Yeah. Yeah. People who honestly, you look at, watch the YouTube and just look up this thing called Karens. Yeah. And that's women who go nuts. Yeah. Women who won't wear masks. Yeah. Women who go into a store and scream at everybody. Kick and hit the floor and hit people and say the terriblest things and call Mexican people, get out of here, go back to your country. You know, Asian people, get out of here, go back to your country. You know, and they won't wear a mask. And they come in groups sometimes. Yeah. And every single one of them are standing up for Trump. Yeah. And he just says, well, you know, I'm not going to wear a mask. First thing he says when they talk about, well, there are these things that we need to do to help to try and prevent this. And when it got to wearing a mask, you know, Mr. Crazy, super nutty guy, you know, who's so prideful and arrogant, yeah, and honestly believes in white supremacy. He just believes he's white, he's protected. He's white. He's the only one who's right. Yeah. Yeah. The land is his. The material world is his. God blesses him because he's white. Talk to these white supremacists. They actually are under an illusion like Judaism, that God chooses white people to bless and make them the leaders of the world. Yeah. The clean, pure race like Hitler. Yeah. If you talk to these people, you know, they'll mention, you know, well, it's about the bloodline. Yeah. Pure bloodline. Yeah. You don't want to be having Jewish bloodline. Yeah. You don't want to have black bloodline. Yeah. That would take you out of your nature. Yeah. Because as a white person, we're blessed by God. Yeah. And it's such a diluted concept. Yeah. It just triggers everybody to think everybody else, according to God, you know, is less. You know, like Judaism. Gentiles. Yeah. Don't touch them. Don't get near them. Yeah. Use them as your workers, because they're stupid people. You know. The opposite of your creed, the opposite of your, you know, your belief system. Yeah. Yeah. So that's really low-minded characteristics that we're coming out of. Yeah. We're all kind of coming out of that. Yeah. But this is the influence that he brought. Yeah. And you've all seen the guy with the horns, right? Yeah. And he's the shaman of the QAnon shaman, you know. What does he have to do with this? Why is he there? You know, what's his thing? Well, according to his lawyer, let's see if I got this right. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Okay, so this is a little bit about the Patriots.
We encountered some pretty significant resistance. I mean, we were getting, chemical irritants sprayed. They had pipes and, different metal objects, batons, some of which I think they had taken from law enforcement personnel. They were striking us with those. And then it was just like the sheer number of rioters. I mean, the force that was coming from that side, it was difficult to offer any resistance when you're only about 30 guys going up against 15,000.
And Shimon, we're also hearing from another MPD officer, Daniel Hodges. We saw the terrible video of him being crushed by rioters in a door. What else did he say?
Yeah, that video, everyone has seen that video, and he was crushed. You can see all the rioters around him. In one case, trying to pull his gas mask off his face. He also describes just being surrounded and outnumbered there.
The guy ripping my mask off, and he was able to rip away my baton and beat me with it, and he was practically foaming at the mouth. So just these people were true believers in the worst way. Just the absolute zealotry of these people, how they 100% believed that what they were doing was right, and that they were the Patriots, and that no one would get in their way.
And it's just the sound of these officers talking about how determined so many of the attackers, this mob, was to get inside Capitol Hill and ultimately probably to get to some of the lawmakers, Don.
Shimon, I just want to play some more from Officer Hodges and we'll discuss. Here it is.
They were waving the thin blue line flag and telling us, we're not your enemies, while they were attacking us and, kill one of us. So it was, it's hard to say exactly what's going through their minds because it doesn't make sense to me. Some of them felt like we would be fast friends because so many of them have been vocal, or at least virtue signaling their support for the police over the past year. They say things like, we've been supporting you through all this Black Lives Matter stuff, you should have our back. And they felt like entitled. They felt like they would just walk up there and tell us that they're here to take back Congress, and we would agree with them, and we'd walk in hand and just take over the nation. But obviously that was not the case, and it will never be the case.
In this country for years, and we will be cleaning up this mess in really dangerous ways for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, the guy who calls himself the QAnon shaman, the moronic minotaur, as we refer to him.
Yep.
His lawyer was on CNN last night and explained where he got his motivation and who his spiritual leader is. So here it is.
Over the course of the period from the election to January 6th, it was a driving force by a man he hung his hat on, he hitched his wagon to. He loved Trump, every word. He listened to him. He felt like he was answering the call of our president. He was there at the invitation of our president.
I know this guy.
This edition is?
Stop this deal! Stop this deal! Stop this deal! Stop this deal! Stop this deal!
We do not consent to be governed.
Nor shall we ever be consented to be governed by an illegal, fraudulent election.
But you elected a guy who also doesn't care much about consent.
We do not consent.
Will you accept Joe Biden as President of the United States on the 20th?
No, I will not accept the verdict. No, I will not. So look, I've educated myself about this, okay? I don't know all that's in the Constitution.
Have you read it? It's pretty short.
The Constitution of America?
Yeah.
I've not read the whole thing, no. You've read the entire thing?
Yes, it's remarkably short.
All right. I doubt that, but it's okay.
You should read it, because you might be committing a seditious act in an hour and a half.
Okay, I'm not going to comment about that.
The people didn't vote for Joe Biden, though. The Dominion system voted for Joe Biden.
Do you think it's possible that Hugo Chavez infiltrated the Dominion systems, changed the votes, orchestrated by Joe Biden?
I think anything's possible.
Do you think it's possible that a president who never polled above 50% lost the election and is sore about it?
Absolutely not.
That's not possible.
The one thing you couldn't help but notice was just how many people looked like they were preparing for battle. From the tactical vests to the pitchforks, this rally felt charged.
You can tell these people really love America by the number of weapons they brought to hurt other Americans. Looks like we got some Proud Boy action. Either that or the Cabela's street team. What's your flag say?
Come and take it.
Come and take it. Do you have a weapon?
No.
No? Why not? Did they take it? Sorry, bro. I was worried that we were in trouble, but then I saw that we got the tyranny response team here, and I feel a lot better. Thanks for all you do.
And for those supposedly caught off guard, claiming they didn't see this violence coming, if you paid attention to any of these rallies, all you have to do is open your eyes and ears. The message isn't exactly subtle.
Make no mistake, we have the guns, and we are now in the streets. We are gonna clean this place out, one way or another. You look down there, I have 1 million plus people angry. Very, very angry people.
Can I ask why you're carrying a pitchfork?
Well, a pitchfork is it's just iconic representation of what people over time have done in this country.
It feels more like a weapon, to be quite honest.
No, it's not. It's farm equipment, and it's legal in this city.
Yeah, are you farming today?
It's an icon. It's a representation. We're not asking for violence right now.
I got to tell you, from the movies I've seen, the hordes of people with pitchforks are usually the bad guys.
How close do you think we are to 1861?
But hang on.
Are we close?
Hell yeah, you are.
That's the Civil War.
Would you rather die on your knees than be free?
Aren't you a little bit freaked out about 600,000 Americans die? I see you're not wearing masks. Never mind.
This thing was a powder keg. All it took was someone to light the fuse, like these human blowtorches.
Let's have trial by combat. Stand up and fight. Stand up and hold your representatives accountable. We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength.
With those orders, the crowd of economically anxious insurrectionists advanced on the Capitol.
So we've been following this protest, and we headed to the Capitol, and the Trump supporters just broke through the gates, and they're now heading into the Capitol right now. People are getting waved up towards the Capitol. Take it back. I'm hearing people saying, let's go, keep going. Who are you with?
The American people.
The American people. Are you military?
Not answering that.
So you're not military?
No.
Why are you dressed like military?
I'm not. These are just clothes.
Is that camouflage?
It is.
But you're in an urban environment. Isn't that sort of the antithetical to camouflage?
I don't think so.
Are you looking to make an aggressive action right now?
No, I'm looking to make a statement.
What's your statement?
The election was stolen. We want free and fair elections. And if we can't have that in this country, we don't have anything.
So what do you plan on doing?
We're just going to see how it unfolds.
You're going to see how it unfolds. All right, good luck with the paintball tournament.
Yeah.
Can I ask you some questions? What's your plan? What's your plan?
For what?
What are you storming the Capitol?
I'm just going up for a ticket for somebody.
Is this the last stand?
Say it is.
This looks like the last stand. Are you afraid if you run out of batteries for the last stand that you'll be thwarted? Good luck. I hope you don't run into bumpy terrain or stairs.
While Segway Stonewall Jackson is laughable on his child's scooter, the rioters brought real weapons and committed real atrocities. They attacked our democracy, our police, and even our cameraman.
Does that matter? Hey, you assaulted me! I was saying you assaulted me!
Trump's fake tough guy military are literally throwing themselves on the ground to perpetuate victimhood.
If the Trump presidency was going to come to an end, this seems fitting. A show of aggression, ending with a bunch of people screaming at a building without a working understanding of how democracy works. America, 2021. Thunder, cannon, tear gas. Let's not wait to find out.
In the end,
he's out of there. So, yeah, these are pretty weird people, you know, and they're hateful, aggressive. You know, their process is to move the lowest nature of people in order to get them to vote for them and pull off being able to get the pipeline in and bring back coal and open up more nuclear power plants and do a lot of fracking and everything that we really shouldn't do, all the things we shouldn't do. Even as the guy is leaving office, he passes at least 5 bills to destroy the earth, which is going to take us at least 10 years to get rid of those bills. Yeah, because it takes about 1.5 years for those to go into effect, and nothing can stop them. They're going to go into effect. And then all those things have to be turned back around, so a bill has to be put in, a whole lot of things have to be said, the bill has to be passed, and then again, you have to go through a transition, which is another 2 to 3 years. So we got at least 5, 6, 7 years of wasted ecological process, that we can't do much about. And that is I have a really big thing about people are great. People are great, but without an earth, you have no place to live. And you may think your environment could be locked off in your house or, set in your financial, cushion, and that life will be fine as long as you got the money, as long as you got a house, as long as you got what you think you need. But that's not really true. And that's true for very few people, actually. And as time goes on, with the process, the earth, and its environmental processes, and not taking care of coal, not taking care of fossil fuel, not going into electrics, not doing all the things that we should do and produce and stop producing, then if we don't do those things, we're going to have a very long-term effect that comes into play. And it doesn't take that long for it to take place, but it's impossible for it to be healed. So the outcome of it is, if we continue this process, we keep voting in, people like this, and it just takes a very slow process to take on ecology, to do all the right things, get rid of fossil fuel, get rid of coal, get rid of these things, and 1,000 more things that's necessary in order to really save the earth. Let alone just the key things, coal and fossil fuel and things like that. People understand that, but there's so much more. Plastic, there's so much other things that has to be taken care of. We have to be responsible. Because if we don't, then the ice is going to melt. And if the ice melts, after it gets to a certain point, it puts out more carbon monoxide, CO2, into the air. And it's increased because the melting of the ice has that in it. So as that dissolves, it goes forced into the air along with our continued production of carbon, going into the air by fossil fuel and by burning coal. And we can't like continue this process another 10 years, another 15 years, because the ice is melting. So in that process, if the ice continues melting, which would be a 5,000-year process, 5,000 years, and that's in a bad way. If it continues melting, it would take about 5,000 years. All the ice would be gone, all the ice, but you won't be able to breathe. You won't have oxygen. No matter what you got, your building could be sealed, and you could create your oxygen, and you could sit in an isolated chamber-like scenario and survive. If you got the money, if you got the means. But that's going to be your survival. And inside that, you might grow trees, you might paint the walls, make it look like sunshine, and digital effects to make it look like weather's changing, that there's, a river, running by. But in reality, you're inside of a sealed chamber. And there's no way around it, because if you walk outside, without a completely enclosed suit, you're dead. That's Earth. That's Earth. How many of us are going to be reincarnating in that? Really, we will limit our number of people we're going to bring onto the Earth, because we can't put everybody in these chambers, and we can't do those sort of things. So, and people will die in numbers you cannot imagine because of the economy, because we are not prepared. And 5,000 years, trust me, people, it passes really fast. 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ walked the earth. And you know that as history, as something that's really something you can relate to, as though it's recent history. Recent. Yeah. 5,000 years. 5,000 years. And no human beings. Yeah. 5,000 years. That also means no life in the ocean. None. At about 150 years from now, the complete ocean way in which it moves, the way in which it circulates, will be dramatically changed. Yeah. And when you take ice and you melt it, and water, regular water without salt, the amount of water that will be increased is the exact amount that is the ice. Yeah. That's what happens if you melt it in water. But what happens if you melt it in salt? In salt water? Well, mass is increased by 3%. That's a lot, people. That ice cube, that was large ice that melts, goes off into the ocean, and that turns into much more CO2, and much more water, and the weight of that water, because it's going from ice into salt water, the increase of it goes up really high, overflows. You can't imagine, the degree, that takes, and the way in which, that it destroys all the life in the ocean. It destroys your ability to grow a crop. Completely destroys it. You can't really grow because the rain isn't the same. It's more like monsoons. So where are you going to grow? In a chamber. In chambers. With all the technologies that we will have at that time, we'll put it all towards survival. Because we don't have an earth anymore. That's 5,000 years. 5,000 years. 2,000 years is a history that we all relate to. And we can't actually go back, another 1,000 or 2,000 years and have relative history, like, when were the pyramids built? But you got to go back 10,000 years and you'll find that this was a horrendous scenario. What happened over that 10,000 year period? And what happened? The ice melted. All of the pyramid used to be above ground. And when the ice melted, it became under the water. And you can see that if you go to the pyramid. You'll see water lines all around the pyramid. You'll see erosion everywhere. You'll see, they didn't just take all that stone off the pyramid. It fell off. By being soaked in thousands of years of salt water. And when it came back up, there everybody could see the Grand Pyramid as it is, as we see it today. And that was just 5,000 years ago. But we have no written history. All we have is archaeologists and geologists who study the earth and study history and can put these things together. And it was a natural course of events, this process of the earth warming, and the influence of what took place. But where we're going now is stepping into a whole new area. We could prevent the ice from melting. at the degree that it's taking. We could knock it down by 50 to 60% over a 30,000 year period, so that the cycle of coolness, the cycle of the earth, rotates back into its natural system, and the ice is maintained, and we have a healthier process. Yeah. But it requires us now to really understand these things, because it's going to, inevitably, it's going to do this. And we have no preparation for it. We're spending too much time at war. Yeah. We're spending too much time playing as though this isn't happening. We're playing games all the time. We go to football games. We spend all of our time at movies, you know. We have no idea who's being elected and what is going on in the government. No idea. It just comes up every 4 years. We vote, and we have no idea who all those people are that we voted for. You know, just maybe 3 or 4 people. That's it. You know, and you just go ding, 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 ding. You know, and all these people come into office because you're either Democratic or Republican, and you're voting your particular way. And that's not the way to vote, people. You should never vote because you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. You should vote because you're a wise person and you see change and you want change. And those who are here to bring forth change, those are the people to support. Doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. Doesn't matter at all. Yeah. What does matter is that you have a conscience, and that you have to make these decisions, because we're ecologically bound. Ecologically, that means that we are the caretakers of Earth. Yeah. To even understand ecology is to understand that we are the caretakers. Yeah. You can't step into ecology and step back. You have to play a part. Yeah. If you're going to study ecology. Yeah. Because back in the early 1800s, when we started making these machines and industrial process took over, we changed everything. And the process of how much CO2 was in the air, went up so high. Yeah, just to 100, 200, 300, 400 times what it was. Even back in the 50s and the 40s and the 30s. Yeah, because we didn't start manufacturing cars until about 1910. And we made railways and railroads and steel and manufacturing of cities in the late 1800s. So we had to get into the industry of making steel. And we had to get into the industry of getting coal so that we can get the heat to make the steel. Yeah. So every part of industry had to do with coal. Every part of it. Yeah. And then it had to do with taking other minerals out of the earth and making more shit, more pollutant, more shit. Yeah. And it was just part of our technology. It's part of our advancements. It's what we are led to do. Yeah. But imagine if there was during the time of Tesla and Edison, there were two particular people that were head to head. No, I'm going to go DC. No, I'm going to go AC. No, I'm going to go with electric motors. No, I'm going to go with gasoline. No, I'm going to give away free energy, free electricity all around the world. No, that we don't even want to go there. We can't even talk about that. Where Edison is going, wow, I can provide you electricity, provide you lights, provide you heat, provide you all kinds of things. Yeah. But to do that, it's going to take a generator, in order to generate that electricity. So they come up with Niagara Falls, and it generates enough. But still, the main part of it is to create generators, to create the electricity. So everything that was going on with Edison was involved in the process of functioning with the use of motors, the use of DC, and the use of, imagine, I mean, you'd have to really understand electronics a bit in order to understand the ridiculousness of trying to run electricity from house to house using DC, because your wires would have to be like this thick, because you'd lose so much electricity in short distance. So alternating current was able to maintain the same level of electricity at very long distances. And then you could transfer it back from alternating to DC if you needed. But it's totally functional. And this is Tesla coming up with this idea. At the same time, there's this other guy going, well, no, we can do it with DC. And he's like electrocuting elephants, showing, look, it's much more functional. It's good for electrocuting people, And this thing over here with this guy, he's able to stand here and have electricity come out of his body, and all this kind of stuff, Mr. Tesla, What kind of world would we be in? We want to be in a world where we understand the electricity, according to Edison. And, you would think a genius like that would get it, alternating current. I mean, how do you not get it? He's making light bulbs, he's doing all the things he's doing, but his thing is his pride. His idea was different than his idea. And he wasn't about, him and Tesla weren't about to merge having a very similar idea. Because Edison's ideas had to be his. And that was it. And this guy Tesla, all he wanted to do was share his ideas. Share them. But the problem was that they led a totally different thing. They had soul. It had spirit. He understood soul. He understood light. He understood the 7 rays. He understood electricity. And that it was an angelic aspect. There were so many things going on in this guy that was very much the heart center. And then there was Edison, and it wasn't the heart center. It's very much driven, third-ray kind of person. Very, very driven with a very much first-ray kind of, this is my idea, and mine only. So that's where we're at. We have the heart and mind of the soul, and it leads us. And imagine if we had gone more along the line of Tesla, then we would have advanced into more technologies. If we had agreed in the process of allowing him to advance the free electrical energy that could have been developed, and it was developed. He already had it developed. It's just that he couldn't bring it into completion. It was in the scientific research realm. But it worked. It worked in small scales. It worked. So if that had moved forward, we wouldn't need fossil fuel. We wouldn't have to use, water to generate hydropower, or fossil fuel, or nuclear, or all these things we've gone down the road for. And those, you can't imagine, if you'd ever studied Tesla, that his focus was the pyramid. The pyramid, He felt that the pyramid would heal the planet, and it was the source to free electricity. But you had to go through the advancement of understanding all these different things that go on, changing the etheric field, because he believed in the etheric field. But he was one and only one person that was carrying that light and carrying that information. If we had been able to go that direction, there are a million different things would not have been fulfilled. Yeah. People being able to have all free electricity, yeah. Free heat, free electricity, yeah. That same free electricity would run your car. It would need batteries, but yet we don't know where that free electricity comes from. How do we get to that free electricity? Our free electricity is from water, hydropower, solar, and wind. Yeah. Yeah. We missed the boat, people. Yeah. And the direction of all the different things. You know, so where I come from is that this keeps coming around. These advancements and abilities keep coming around. People keep reincarnating, yeah? And they bring those advancements with them, but they're in a fixed position. They're fixed. They're not like halfway understood in previous lives, halfway understood, yeah? Where then people would not agree with you because it's halfway understood in the mind and consciousness of humanity. They're not evolved enough yet during that cycle of life. But now another life comes around. Imagine, Tesla dies in the late 40s, yeah? So he's going to reincarnate, yeah? And he has a greater ability when he reincarnates to bring about everything he would have done in that life. And now, in this cycle of time, you can just imagine he's reincarnated and he's transmitting telepathically, wisely, that alternative world that we can move into. Sciences in every way. Why do we have a car that's called Tesla? Why it is the most advanced car on the planet? Why is it we have a car that's called Tesla? Yeah, because it's coming from the hard work that never got into manifestation, but now is coming into manifestation. And it doesn't mean Elon Musk. It means the overshadowing influence of the hierarchy. Yeah, and that when we incarnate, we have difficulty in fulfilling our program, our ideas, because it's not a collective idea. It's an individual idea. It's a master trying to initiate, a new way of seeing things. Yeah, that's how masters work. But a lot of times there's only just a few students who receive that and don't go into conflict over it because they have another way of seeing it, which is much lesser. Yeah. So that life, not a lot gets done. Yeah. Except for the master. The master learns a lot. Yeah. And is stored in the master. So that's a causal body. Causal body. And he died in the late 40s. Yeah. About 48, 49. Reincarnates. Yeah. Nice thing. Yeah. Because what comes with that is all the influence that comes with that. Yeah. That whole entire energetic field that comes with individuals. And we don't know reincarnation is really a real reality. We don't know it. And whether you know the person who is the reincarnation of Tesla, that doesn't matter. It's God's plan that matters. And the hierarchy is here to fulfill the plan. And it's a lot of times in frustration or whatever, but it's the plan that matters. Yeah, it's not about the individuals being the fulfillment of the plan. It's the plan that's the fulfillment of the plan. And it takes many incarnations to do so. So imagine we reincarnate and by standard we live 70 to 80 years. Yeah. So take a life. Imagine any life. And go backwards. Yeah. If we go into the time of Hitler, the time where an enormous amount of pollution was taking place, nuclear bombs were being built, people were crazier than shit, and very much moving in the wrong direction. But then there were other people in the light that were talking, like Roerich, a great philosopher and painter and a person who traveled to Tibet and came to America and spoke with our American president and initiated an understanding about the coming of Christ and Tibetan Buddhism, and that it actually had to do more with Christ than it has to do with Buddhism. Yeah. And that was brought into our consciousness, into our world at the same time while everybody is going to war. Yeah. this alternative reality simultaneously happening in the world, and yet everybody is only aware of new cars being built, manufacturing going on, the heyday of the 20s. Oh, we can't drink. Oh, we can drink. All these things that are left over from that left-hand spin that we've all have been abused inside of. Yeah? Because it was the wrong path. The wrong path. And the path of God, the plan, is constantly working itself out. Yeah? So imagine you take these people who were born in 1910, 1920. And these are like Hitler. Hitler was born during that period, yeah? So he gets to 1940, 45. He's 50 years old, yeah? And he's running the country of Germany. Yeah? And you go back, and that's 1942, yeah? 1938, 1939, yeah? So you go back 50 years, he must have been born in the 1890s, yeah? 1900, yeah? So there's a lot of people in that group, a generation of people born in that group in around the early 1900s. And give them 70 years for life. Yeah, they will die in 1970, 1980, right around there. Yeah, and they're going to reincarnate in 1982, 1983. Yeah, that's just a fact. Just a fact. Yeah, it's not that it's a fact that everybody dies at 70 or 80, because a lot of people die a lot younger. But the general mass of people live for a period of time. And a lot of these people died in war, through that whole cycle of war. So then they reincarnate from the 40s to the end of the Korean War, which is 1950, 1951. Yeah. Yeah. So then they have to reincarnate, and that's more like in the 50s and the 60s. But the people who continue living on, all the people in Auschwitz and all the people who put people in Auschwitz, they didn't die. They got away. A whole lot of Germans got away. Yeah, a whole lot. Yeah, and they lived on, and then reincarnate. And they reincarnated in the 80s. In a general note, they reincarnate in the 80s. Now we have a group of people, large masses of people, who reincarnated in the 80s who are taking down the streets right now. Yeah, they're taking away cities, as though they're in Germany, as though they're with Mussolini, carrying out the same activity they did in previous lives, with the same people. When it comes up and they start going this way and pushing that way, all those same people just go, oh, those are Democrats, and they're too liberal, and we are not into that. Why? Because they come from this previous life. Yeah, people who honestly believed in nationalism, big time. Italians believe big time in nationalism. Yeah, Germans believe big time in nationalism. Yeah, patriotism. It's all based on that. How Mussolini got to where he was at was that. Yeah, he got everybody riled up, and then they would go to war with other countries because they're not a part of the right blood. Yeah, they're inferior. Yeah, so all of this kind of stuff, was built up in previous incarnations, and everybody in their incarnation, in their causal body, it instills. Now, if you do bad things, if you're forced to do bad things during your life, every bad thing you do brings demons into your body. Demons, because you can't do them without the cooperation of demons. Yeah. And you can't do good things without the cooperation of angels. Yeah, it's just how it is. It is how it is. Yeah, so there's. It's not like a world without demons and angels. Yeah, it's like a world that is a world of demons and angels. Yeah. So imagine, we go through these life cycles, and right now, we have a guy who's the president of the United States, and how old is he? What is he, 75? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Go back. 75 years. Where does this guy come from? 75 years. That takes him what? In the early 30s? 40s? Yeah, I think early 40s. Mid 40s, something like that. Because he's like 7 years older than me. 8 years older than me, I think. What? 5? Wow, cool. Yeah. So this guy, imagine he comes from that cycle of time, goes back that far into the 30s, the 40s. Yeah. Well, there are a lot of people who got croaked, like Mussolini in their middle of the age, in their 50s. Yeah. A lot of the generals, the real demons, who had a lot of demons in their body by the time they left their body. Yeah. And they made commitments with the Pope. The evil ones in Italy made commitments with the Pope. Yeah. Because they had so many demons in their body. They were facilitating, creating the Catholic Church in Rome and establishing its ability to have its bank and its own government, and everything that it's got right now was all established by Mussolini as part of the Mussolini doctrine. Yeah. And then he dies. Yeah. So he dies. Yeah. And guess what? Just a year and a half after he dies, Donald Trump takes an incarnation. Yeah. So that incarnation is what's fulfilling this process. Yeah. And then we had Hitler die almost around the same time. And he comes back. Yeah. And he had to go through 2 lives to get to the life he lived in this life. He was murdered in the life after Hitler. Yeah. He only lived till he was around 18, and he was murdered. Yeah. I can't go into it. It just is what it is. People live and die. His process, he died. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a whole lot of cycles of reincarnation going on, and it depends on the path, how they fulfill themselves in their life, in the present life. Yeah. And if in this process transcendence begins to take place, reformation of people start changing and awakening, and here we are, we're witnessing all these people take on Washington, D.C. They went crazy, and you listen to them, you ask them questions, they all say the same thing. They honestly believe every word Trump says, every lie, and all he does is lie. Yeah. So when you're a person who believes in a person that's not lying but telling the truth, it forms a conspiracy. Yeah. Because you're looking for reality out of a lie. So everything in your reality, because your guru is a liar, and gives you all kinds of images of, the vote. Well, we had Venezuela, and we had this dictator, and we had Dominion, and we're going to take on the Kraken, and all these weird shit, went on and on. And only on certain channels did that stuff get picked up, and those were the channels of channelers. People who love to lie. And they have no real logical process about their lying. Yeah, they're just demonically possessed. And they all lie the same. And they all get excited the same way. Yeah, you could see it in people when they become emotionally disturbed, psychologically disturbed. There's this revved up emotion that comes out. It can either go to hate, it can go to overwhelming belief in something, and you can't change their mind no matter what they say. Yeah. And it's all because it's only in the emotional body. The whole entire thing is built up in the emotional body because you can't tell the difference between a lie or truth. You can't tell the difference. Yeah. So since they can't tell the difference, and this person is only lying, and if you study it, you'll find you go back and you study Krishna. Krishna says, yeah, he lies. He lies and knowingly lies. He lies in order to exaggerate something so he can get you to go behind it because you're not going to check it out. Other people might, but what that would do is create a conspiracy against his truth, as though people are trying to find fault in what he's saying. Yeah. And what he's saying is a lie. Yeah. So it automatically brings people into the process of fact-checking. It's common sense. Since he lies so much, all you got to do is check a few facts. Each word that he lays out, is that true? Was there 30 million people here in the square when he said there was 30 million people? No. There was 120,000 people? Sounds like an exaggeration. Yeah. But all those people going crazy are thinking he has 130 million people. Yeah. And half the planet follow him. Yeah. He has the biggest Twitter account on planet Earth. Yeah. He's president. Don't you think if you're president, you have that? No matter who you are, what president you are. But he takes it a totally different direction. Yeah. Because it has to be the emotional body. Yeah. He has to get you in his emotional body. And when you get there, you can hear his mind. Yeah. You can actually, the things he's saying, are in the elemental realm of demons. Yeah. And since people have demons in them and they haven't purified themselves, they barely stopped smoking, they barely stopped drinking, they barely stopped hating black people, Mexicans, all these things. They barely stopped saying every Muslim is a demon. They haven't really never stopped any of those things. And all those things that makes them say that is demons. Yeah. You do not have free will. You either have the will of God or you have demons. Yeah. We're created by God. Just like the situation of Adam and Eve. Everybody has that same scenario. Yeah. And if you fall out of grace in that process, you're going to take those demons. And they're going to be your life. Yeah. Until you finally clear it. And that's only going to be done by God. That is the plan. Is to heal humanity and save humanity. But that's only done through discernment and discrimination. And the actual clearing of these demons. Yeah. Imagine Trump is here, yeah? Trump is doing what he's doing, and everybody's going, wow, let's vote him for another 4 more years. And he almost made it. Yeah. But there's also Christ. Yeah. And there's a plan. And if Christ is alive, and Christ is sane, Christ is talking, Christ is thinking, Christ is moving, many, many people. Yeah. Because we have a heart rather than just a solar plex. Yeah. And it's in the heart. And it's very, very hard. Just like Trump said, when the virus came and he had to actually act like he cared. He goes, wow, this job takes a lot of heart. I've never had to do that before. Never had to use a heart before. I'd just throw people out of buildings, and just, not allow people into a building because they're black. Heart is not something he's a part of. Yeah, 100% not a part of it. Yeah, but now he's becoming a part of it, whether he likes it or not. His heart is being broken. He's heartlessness. Yeah, but everybody's got a heart. Everybody's got a heart. Yeah, and everybody has a heart when they break the 10 Commandments. Yeah. Every single one of those things that they break is their heart. It's their heart. Yeah. And he's broken every single one. Yeah. So now, those things that he covets, which is down there along the end of the line, because you got to do all these terrible things before you get to the point of wanting to be the richest person on the planet Earth and be willing to let people die in order for you to continue. You know, not care, just say, oh, herd immunity, that'll do it, because there I don't have to do anything. Every decision he makes has to be under the guise of the fact that he really doesn't do anything. Somebody else does. Yeah. And he gets credit for it, like Trump Tower. Where is he involved in Trump Tower? Is he architect? Yeah. Is he a designer? Yeah. What part of it is Trump? Yeah. Or is that just a building, a money building, a building that was built and has his name on it? And it's designed for glamour, to emphasize glamour. Rich, wealthy people live in these buildings. This building right here is the richest building. And that's what his son-in-law wanted, 666. Yeah. He figured, well, really rich people's got to be really evil like me. You know, me and my father-in-law. We'd love 666, where we can put all the wealthy people in, and kind of find out the wealthy people are getting a heart. Yeah. They're becoming entrepreneurs. They're becoming people who are giving away their billions and billions of dollars. He's not, but there are those that are. Yeah. And they're people who have that heart that I'm talking about. People who would have and did support, you know, all the good things that have come up out of humanity. And at the time, there were small things, like the beginning of the first airplane, yeah, or the beginning of the first electric car. Small group of people, engineers, people really trying, you know. The development of solar, getting it out there and actually standing behind it, knowing that in the future it will cost much less if we keep building, if we keep manufacturing. We're not making money, yeah, but we're doing this because the future is in our hands. If we keep going, we'll develop those technologies because they're going to come from our heart, yeah. Invisible things come from the heart. You have to have faith. You have to have intuition. You have to have vision. You have to have a goal, a feeling, a real alignment to that vision that's coming in. Yeah, and you're motivated by your soul, you know, to pull it off. And you have nothing but faith and vision and revelation. Yeah. And as time goes on, the revelation comes true. That's the right-hand path. That's your future. That's every human being's future. Yeah. A lot of people go, well, I don't know what I'm going to do without coal. Don't know what I'm going to do if every single manufacturing job is taken over by robots. Yeah. But if it's not, you know, then we're just going to keep having babies by the hundreds of millions to be laborers, yeah, because we can't allow ourselves to think maybe, you know, we should kind of step back and get educated and become understanding and then bring a child into the world and carry that education on to the child, you know, rather than being a laborer who has a child, who now they're not going to have a father because it's so hard to keep a family going when you're a laborer. You're psychologically losing it. You're drinking too much. The pressure's too much. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all on that left-hand path. But the right-hand path is the hardest path of all. Yeah. Yeah. It's the one where, you know, everything that is ecology, everything that is, we got to stop, you know, the process of the melting. You know, we have to do all the right things. Yeah. And they're not just physical things, they're conscious things. You know, so when this changes, like the process of us voting Trump out in a shock because he says, you know, no, you didn't. You're all totally mistaken. You know, I'll prove it to you by the time this comes to pass, you know, because there's millions of people whose votes were switched, you know, from Trump to Biden. Yeah. And you know, I mean, he's just a car salesman. You know what I mean? They all say the same thing. They say anything to sell you, and it doesn't matter. In the end, they're believing that someone somewhere along the line is going to buy this, and they're going to allow him to stay as president, because they can't really prove whether or not it was a good election or a bad election, so we have to leave it alone and allow him to continue on. Maybe try another election. That's where his brain's at. This is horrifying. Yeah, it's horrifying. And every single person that went to that Capitol were simply fulfilling his desire body. Yeah. He even knew that this is going to turn to violence. He tells everybody all along the line, fight. Beat that guy up. Take him to the side. Back in the old day, we used to shoot people. We would riot in order to make sure that we don't lose what it is they're stealing. He would say these things over and over and over, as though nobody on the other side is listening. As though he's only talking to a small group of people that are willing to listen to his shit, his lies, and have lawyers go around who are the craziest lawyers on planet Earth. Crazier than shit. But when you got a group of people who are crazy following you, they believe those lawyers as though they're lawyers. And they're not. None of them are actual lawyers. They're all losing their law ability to practice law. All of them. A lady who came out and said, "Oh, I'm going to get the Kraken to come out." Well, the Kraken came out. Dominion sued them for $1.5 billion, and she lost her license to practice law. There isn't anybody who wants to stand in as a lawyer for Trump and still want to maintain practicing law or have a business that anybody would trust them. All association to Trump has become bad, dark, evil, like nuclear radiation, bad stuff. Stay hundreds of miles away. If you got a contract, delete it. That's second ray. When people can let go. No matter if it's a contract or an obligation. Even the people of Congress chose not to push toward him being, not kicked out. There's people of the Republicans who went, "No, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know." And only 10 voted to allow it to happen. So now he's got to be convicted for that impeachment. And it's going to require quite a few people to gather together and go through the court and pull it off. And they're going to do it. But the process behind it is that people's consciousness has to stay at a certain level, because they're just going to let it slide. As though, this would just separate people, make people feel more, ununified. But the truth is that we need to understand more what's going on. We need to understand it, get it to the point to where we can verify this man knew he was telling a lie. We need to go through the process and then get him on the stand and show all of the credible evidence that proves that he knew that the election was not a sham. He knew it. And that he said things to people that he would lie and make people believe that he won in order to get back into office. Because there's no other way. He lost. There's no other way. But there are people who actually heard him. And when we go to trial, we're going to have all this come up. And that's going to save Earth. That's going to save the United States. Because the only thing that's going to make this right is the truth. Everybody has to hear the truth. And then their heart is going to break. Yeah. But it's not their real heart. Yeah. It's their heartlessness. It will break. Yeah. And their whole process of their desire, which is they get so hostile and aggressive, they carry pitchforks and everything. You know, they beat the shit out of someone. Even the police, even the military. Yeah. Simply because they believe that they are right. You know, and that's an emotional body thing. It's just like when you're beating your wife or your husband or your children. It's an emotional body thing. Yeah. It's not the nature of who you are. You don't slap your kid. You don't talk down to them. You don't holler at them. You don't hit them. Yeah. But you probably will. Yeah. Because it's the emotional body. Yeah. And people do not have free will because they have an emotional body that controls their will. Yeah. And that's what screws everything up. You know, so we have a process right now to where if we can get the truth to come out, the truth to be absolutely clearly shown, and then he and others who are other Republicans who actually said, I know that it's this and that, you know, they have to stand there and say, honestly, I am now 100% aware of the fact that there was no rigged election. And that there is always, in every election, some faulty scenarios of crazy people. A crazy person takes his father's death certificate and uses it as a birth certificate or something and says, I'm going to vote for this person, you know? And they vote for someone else, or they vote twice or maybe 3 times because they're drunk, yeah? Or they're crazy, yeah? Their decision-making process is usually personal, not political. And it's only political because they really want their democratic office to be in charge as the presidents. Yeah. So it pushes them to do an illegal act. Yeah. And it happens in every election, but not in a runaway scenario, not by hundreds of thousands of people or even 100 people at any given location. Never in history, even in the worst of our history. Yeah, it just doesn't happen. Even during the Civil War, we had good elections. Yeah. And you would think, wow, that would really be, you know, there's no way. Mm-hmm. So almost all of our elections are extremely good. Yeah. And we put a lot of effort in our polling system, our electoral system. You know, we do it personally. We recount it. You know, I mean, we go through so much to give responsibility respect. Yeah. As a United States of America, not patriot, not a nationalist, but just the fact that we want to live by the truth and take it as it comes. You know, we may not want to have that person elected, but it's the truth. And God is a part of the truth. And if we allow all the time the truth to be what directs us and moves us forward, yeah, and we may not like it, yeah, but it's shining light on something that we need to know and others may not agree upon, you know, and then we gain so much from that, yeah, by us having a greater truth come our way, and we break through that, you know. So the only way we're going to get to this process is coming out of this, and then we got Biden. So what is Biden going to do?
With the coronavirus ravaging our country, it is no surprise that Biden's first order of business is a massive COVID relief plan. Why? Because COVID is the boss right now. It doesn't matter who's the president or who's the CEO, COVID's in charge. And the last time our current president, President Trump, addressed the nation as it relates to COVID was over 5 weeks ago. Biden's plan that he unveiled last night is a $1.9 trillion proposal which aims to contain the virus and help boost a struggling economy.
We not only have an economic imperative to act now, I believe we have a moral obligation. In this pandemic, in America, we cannot let people go hungry. We cannot let people get evicted. We cannot watch nurses, educators, and others lose their jobs. We so badly need them. We must act now and act decisively.
NBC's Mike Memoli is in Wilmington, Delaware. Michael, break down this plan for us.
Well, Steph, think back to more than a decade ago when an incoming Obama administration was proposing what became known as the Recovery Act. Your next guest knows a lot about this, as does Joe Biden, who was, of course, the vice president at the time. There was a big debate internally about the price tag and keeping it under $1 trillion. Well, now Biden, as the president-elect, is talking about a rescue plan that is needed even before you can talk about a recovery plan. And yes, it has a big price tag, $1.9 trillion. It breaks down into three different buckets. You can talk about the pandemic spending aspect of it, direct relief to working families, and also to small businesses and to local governments. Let's take it one at a time here. That first bucket, the pandemic relief. We're going to hear the president-elect talk more about what is a vaccination strategy nationwide today. That's going to cost upwards of $20 billion as part of a larger $400 billion package here. And then you talk about working families. And what do we see here? Biden talking about $1,400 stimulus checks. Now, that's in addition to the $600 that was part of the most recent recovery bill passed and signed into law. Some debate there about whether he should be proposing an additional $2,000, not just the $1,400. Also, the first significant increase in the minimum wage in years. And then lastly, that aid to small businesses and local governments, it includes $350 billion. This is something Biden feels very strongly about to help keep those frontline workers employed. Local governments are really hurting through this pandemic. Now, Steph.
So he went over that really fast, yeah. But there are so many things that are put into this. One, child welfare, yeah. I think $50 billion is put into both education and food, yeah. And the process of being able to maintain food within the family, not just giving $1,400 and $400 a week as unemployment, but making sure that the food banks and other areas in which people can get food, it goes up, yeah, increased in that. All these different areas, an enormous amount is being done, yeah, all the levels of, from the vaccine to getting vaccines to everybody, buying more vaccines and pushing them to produce more vaccines. You know, something that wasn't at all even being thought about. Yeah. So now all that's being pushed. Yeah. So within the next month, from the time that he starts, which is just in a few days, from a month after that, you will see things moving so fast. Yeah. And the ability for people to cooperate and move things along is going to be increased. Yeah. Mainly because there's all these Republicans who are forced to lie. Yeah, they're patriots. It's their president. They have to believe in their president and stand behind their president. Never turn on their president. They're all idealistic in their way of how they're going to behave. And if you're in government, that is not how it works. Yeah, there's really no separate sides. There's more ignorant. There's less ignorant. That's all there is. Yeah. And you have to talk, you have to educate, you have to share your understanding, yeah, to the rest of the Congress, to the rest of everybody in there. Yeah. You share it and you help to raise their consciousness, their interest to pass this bill, to do the things that need to get done. Yeah. Because most of the time they're ignorant. Yeah. And they're prejudiced by taking lies that's been told to them. Oh, there is no, thawing of the ocean relationship to the ice age and changing over into all the glaciers thawing out, and we're going to go into some kind of really hot spell. And the earth will go into a very dangerous period, and we got to stop using fossil fuel. All those people have been lied to because they're ignorant. They lie to themselves, and they find other people that say what they want to hear. Yeah. And there are so many companies out there, oil companies, so many companies out there that are looking for these ignorant lawmakers, so that they will take their money and live well without anybody knowing that they're being moved into a Trump-like thought form, where more money is involved than truth, and keeping the truth away from the congressman, telling them lies. We have Flint, Michigan, that we know is a bad place. So many things constantly going down, and the only people, majorly, people that are there are black people, because they're stuck. They have no place to go. So they decided in Flint, Michigan, that because we have such a low quality group of people here, we need to save on our water. Because we can't afford, to process our water and run it through the proper waterway. So we chose the river. Cheaper, easier, and it has an enormous amount of pollutants in it. They can go directly into the waterway, and that goes directly into the pipes that goes in under the roads and into the houses. And all those waste products, those things from those industrial waste, the toxins, the acids, everything got into those pipes. And the lead started leaching. Tons of lead. All the pipes leached to everybody in Flint, Michigan. And the ratio of how much lead, how much is in their blood is beyond your wildest imagination. It's so high. And only just recently, in the last week, has the governor been given the penalty of fact that he knew that this was going on. He made the decision to alter the direction on how this is done, knowing that it would pollute and create this danger. And then as the danger was coming about, they lied about it. So that process, is changing. But we still are in a place to where we are not in a conscious level able to go, holy shit, let's get those people out of there. 2 Mile Island, we did that. Got everybody out there. But guess what? Today, they're selling that land for schools and housing. Because the laws didn't put into strong effect the truth that this place is a pollution. And it reeks the pollution coming out of the soil everywhere. But because there's no laws and the lies that just diluted everything, to where now real estate agents are going in, getting the laws changed to where now the land could be sold. And yet we should have it on law that that place gets cleared. And we put in as much agriculture as we can to absorb those toxins and wipe them out of the system. Hemp would do it. Hemp would wipe out most toxins you have in the soil. Just recycle it for about 10 years. And after that period of time, you got good soil. But this is a process where we're going to have to learn. And there's a right side and a left side. And on the right side, there are laws that are demonizing good things. They would say, oh, marijuana, that's the devil's weed, and it's bad for you, and it's only a drug, and it has no good. And yet they knew the effect of CBD, and they knew the industrial use of hemp and how absolutely necessary it is to further our technologies. But by taking it out, we have to go toward plastic. We have to use more wood. Yeah? Yeah. Balsa wood, all kinds of wood. Wood made into, plywood, pressed wood with toxins in it. Yeah? And we need to go that right-hand path. Yeah? We're going to take that right-hand path because we're being overshadowed. Yeah? So imagine, let's take a look at this one more thing. This is a funny one. It's the last one I'm going to do. But it's a funny one. Yeah. And it's the truth. That's what I like about it. It's about Jared and his little lady and their behavior. Yeah. So, you'd think most people are kind and caring and sharing. Kind, caring, sharing. Yeah. That would be normal. Really normal. Yeah. A neighborly thing to do. Yeah. A hospitality kind of thing to do. Yeah. If you're normal, kind of normal, even a little normal. Yeah. Oh, would you like some tea? Oh, would you like anything? A cookie? Are you hungry? To anybody who comes to visit your house, right? So this bleeds over into the military coming to the United States Capitol and they're sleeping on the floor. Yeah. Hospitality sucks when it comes down to demons. Yeah. Military's not demons, they're human beings. Good people. Yeah. They need cots. They need sleeping bags. They need a comfortable pillow. And then let them sleep in the hallway or whatever, but not on the floor with no chairs. No chairs. Yeah. None of them. So it's not the only people who do that. Check this out.
I just despise people like this. So Jared and Ivanka, let's put this up there on the screen, in their house in Kalorama, the other one actually. They have apparently banned their Secret Service detail from using their toilets in their house. So their house, huge house, by the way, I walk past it all the time. This house has like 7 bathrooms. They don't allow their Secret Service detail to use those bathrooms, which required the Secret Service to get in their cars, drive over to local restaurants, try and use their bathrooms. In some cases, walk down to the Obama's house and use the bathroom in their house, or drive over to Pence's house, which is not that close, and use the bathroom there. And I'm sure people are like, well, is this standard operating procedure? Well, what did I just say? If the Obamas are allowing their Secret Service detail to use the bathroom, then why are these people not doing it? And so what ended up happening is, since 2017, they have had to rent a basement apartment across the street from a rich Kalorama resident at the tune of $3,000 a month, meaning that to date, we have spent more than $100,000 on a basement studio. This is taxpayer money across the street, just so these Secret Service agents can go to the bathroom while protecting the first whatever the hell they are. So
that's pretty bad, But they're greedy assholes, So you go in your head, you go, greedy assholes. That makes sense, Well, not really. Not really. Doesn't make sense. Yeah. And there are other people who they get awards for being compassionate people. People bow. People like popes and Dalai Lamas and shitheads like that. Yeah. Because they all believe in the scam. They believe in what they're projecting. What they're saying, right? Well, what if you get to know these people? Yeah. What about the Dalai Lama? I mean, he's the top of the line, super compassionate, wouldn't hurt a fly, but he eats meat. Oh, okay. Well, maybe he would hurt a fly, if he was hungry. Yeah. Yeah. But his process is that you would think he shares. You would think he shares because he cares. You would think he shares because he cares, because he's kind. Yeah, it's his nature as the Dalai Lama, as the enlightened incarnation of Buddha, according to Tibetan Buddhism. Yeah, and as the enlightened incarnation of Buddha, there's only one form of characteristic. Yeah, harmlessness. Yeah, and an overwhelming, unique quality of caring and sharing. Share your food, share your blanket, share your space. If you're seen as a need, it's an automatic response to a caring person. Automatic. But what if they're not a caring person? What if they're filled with demons? A lot of demons. Yeah. And in the Dalai Lama's biography, and other people's biography, like the brother of the Dalai Lama, the father to the Dalai Lama, they tell a story. Even the brother to the Dalai Lama told the story, but the best one who told the story was the Dalai Lama, because he couldn't get away from it because someone already told the story. Yeah. So someone asked, what is it true that when your brother came to the Potala and he had to climb all those steps? If you've ever seen the Potala, there's a lot of steps. There's like 200 steps that get you to the second floor. And there's 5 floors. Yeah. And you get to the second floor and you're dead. It's hard, to get, you want to wait and stop, take another day, have something to eat, rest, go to the bathroom, then go on to the next few floors. You can make it all the way to the top, but, to keep going is really difficult. Yeah, so this guy who's with his brother, the Dalai Lama, he goes up to the Dalai Lama's place, right? And he's hanging out. And he goes, "Can I use your bathroom?" Yeah. And he goes, "No." He said, "You have to go all the way down out of the Potala and go to the bathroom. But you must come right back." Yeah. And it's like, a lot of people couldn't believe that story, until he said it. And it was the brother who said it, and it was another relative who mentioned it, that the Dalai Lama is not the kind of guy you think he is. He treated his family with extreme disdain. Even as a little boy, he wouldn't let his father sit as the head of the table. Yeah, he forced his father to sit, and he was to sit at the head of the table. It doesn't matter if he's Dalai Lama. I mean, holy mackerel, you're more like Genghis Khan than a Dalai Lama. And that's really who this character is. Yeah, but it's impossible for people to figure it out. Impossible for his brother. It's impossible for all the Tibetans that are thinking this is the Dalai Lama. Yeah, and as the Dalai Lama, they don't have choice of election. Yeah, they use a jar. Yeah, or they have an occasional representation of very high lamas that have dreams and letters of recognition from the previous life that gives prophetic understanding as to who the parents are, where the child's born, what the name will be, and when it will be. Yeah, so, and that's how they found me. Yeah, but that's a really rare thing. You have to be a really high master to be able to present that in your life as you're alive and tell everybody your address that they're going to go to, which is what I did. So that isn't the case how they found the Dalai Lama. It was really, really difficult. And that isn't how they found all the other Dalai Lamas. It was always very difficult. Quite often, there were others who were the choice and not the Dalai Lama. Yeah. So when we get to this guy and we have these experiences and we move down this left-hand path, we lost Tibet. Yeah. We lost Tibet. Why? Because he went to a meeting to talk to China when they wanted to start a revolution. And instead of being able to understand where they're coming from and stand where he's coming from, like the Panchen Lama did, and be able to make an agreement that would allow the two to come together and work out the differences. Yeah. But the Dalai Lama wouldn't do that. Yeah. He would lie. He would say, oh, I really like you. Oh, we're really a lot alike. Oh, yeah. He would say that to this head of the Chinese government, you know. And then he'd go back and he'd say, oh, he was terrible. You know, he hated me. I don't like him. You know, it's not what you think. We don't want that. We need to get a war. We need to get military. We need to get weapons. So if you look at Kundun, the movie Kundun, you'll find the child Dalai Lama has lamas who have machine guns and bazookas strapped to their body. Yeah. Because this is where the previous Dalai Lama and the present Dalai Lama, they're the same person. Yeah. Carried over into this process, a military process, a very left spin kind of process. And that was very well aware in the Chinese government. Yeah. This is, you know, it was about negotiating history and getting back true history to bring it back right. You know, because imagine the Japanese come to China and take over a whole country, and they're a little bitty place called Japan. How humiliating could that possibly be? You lose your entire empire. You no longer have an emperor. Oh, wow, that is a shock in itself too. Yeah, and you're taken over by the Japanese. Holy crap. Yeah, and you're the poorest people on planet Earth, and the largest number of people on planet Earth, and everybody, including your own emperor, has used you. Yeah, and for the first time, they're coming out of it in 1950. The first time, yeah, that they're thinking democracy, they're thinking the opportunity of potentiality of America. They loved America, yeah, but this left-hand path took over, yeah, and he lied. And Mao, you know, everybody thought he was the greatest thing since Coca-Cola, but in reality, he was a Maoist, yeah, and he was focused upon destroying people, yeah, just by using them, yeah, yeah. Every single level of human being was to be used, yeah, like a communist dictator would do. It went from democracy to communism, and he lied. He wasn't telling anybody that he's going into communism or that this is communism. It became communism. He drew out a manifesto. And it became everybody after they elected and felt he was like the leader of the time, his issues came forth. Yeah. And it was horrible, just like Trump. Yeah. So we have these things that come up from previous lives. They recycle themselves. Yeah. We have a Dalai Lama that comes up, and he's really Genghis Khan reincarnated. And they recycle themselves. All these people are desire of power. And they use people, disempower people, in order to gain their power, whether it be kings, queens, emperors, dictators. They all are previously incarnated and in a cycle of reincarnation, creating the left-hand path. Yeah. And now all of China is where coal is being used, and it's wiping out everything. And we're trying to come out of that. But we have a guy who loves Chinese, you know, the Chinese dictator reality. And it's a good idea to have a lot of coal, just like China. Yeah. It's a good idea to do the things that they do in Korea, you know. Go ahead and kill people, you know, as part of your prison scenario. Yeah. Left-hand path, every single bit of it. And yet we don't have a right to choose that. Yeah. We're being sucked into it. And that's a governing scenario. And that energy of a governing scenario is what slows down the world and can destroy it. Yeah. It's a focus of a one world government. Yeah. And it's not good. It's not right. Yeah. And this process of, you know, Trump wanting to be, you know, just like Putin, you know, his whole life. Putin is going to be in charge his whole life. The guy in Korea is in charge his whole life. The guy in China is going to be in charge his whole life. And Trump wanted to be in charge in his whole life. A one world government. Yeah. It's not a religious thing. It's a cult that comes from previous. Imagine all the dictators that were here last time. There were 5 of them creating a one world government. Each dictator, all the evil ones plotting together as communists. Yeah. Working to support the communist takeover of the world. Creating a one world government. Yeah. And that lost. Yeah, the influence of that lost. But all these people reincarnate and they're facilitating this energy that's going on. That's the only reason why this is happening. But the opposite side is that I'm here and all this stuff is clearing, you know, so imagine that. Yeah, so let's pray just a bit. I'm just pointing out one thing, a couple things. In this, in all this left-hand spin, you know, and the process of Tesla and the process of the masters and the process of sciences, we know the pyramid, but yet no one understands it. There are energies in it, but yet no one understands it. There are processes of getting free energy and magnetic levitation, all kinds of things that we have the ability to develop, but we can't because we're too dominated by the left-hand path, the dominating lower mind. Yeah, and that affects humanity dramatically. Yet it makes us available toward these people. You know, when they're coming out, and when we have a choice, we're drawn toward that choice, and we're not sure because we don't have enough people of good nature to choose from. Like the presidency, was going to be Hillary Clinton or Trump. That's not a good choice to be going by. You know, you think of Clinton and all these conspiracies. Murder, what? You really want a president that you're not even sure whether or not they murdered a lot of people? You know? And all the things that might else had gone on, no one really cleared yet. No one knows. So there wasn't much opportunity for us to choose from. Yeah, we need to change that reality. Changing that reality is what makes the difference. And that's done by the integration of Christ. Yeah, Christ has a science, elevates the planet by awakening the temples on the planet and creating a soul integration for the nations to be healed and awakened. And that, when that happens, as that energy moves forward, it allows people reincarnating to come in larger numbers. Like, nobody wants to die. Yeah, nobody wants to die. But initiates die on schedule. They may be 33 years old and having the time of their life. But tomorrow they die. And they don't know it. Yeah. A lot of high initiates live 30, 34, 40 years, and that's it. And then they leave. Yeah. And they have all kinds of things that makes them die. Yeah. But it's not because they're a bad person or anything like that. It's because they have a life right after that they're going to do. Yeah. And it's a matter of, you can't imagine how hard it is to gather people together at the right time, being the right people. Because no one wants to die. Everybody wants to hold on like crazy. Yeah. But the process of death comes and goes. You never know when you're going to die and how you're going to die. Yeah. So the process, imagine that humanity in their state of reincarnation, it's really about awakening the people in the light to come back into the light, to incarnate. It's not like we have a choice to stay unincarnated, but through my science, I have the ability to wake people up before they die. And then when they reincarnate, they're much more awake, and the world is able to go along with a plan that follows the right-hand path. So right now, not a lot of people want self-driving trucks. Not a lot of people want, tunnels that go 1,000 miles an hour and very cheap, because they just can't conceive such a thing would really happen. They don't want to put their mind in that direction and be a part of that life of thinking these are real things that are going to happen. Yeah, they just can't do that. So we can't really put energy behind it. Yeah, collective consciousness is what does it. Yeah, so I created a science of the soul that helps people pick up the plan that fosters collective consciousness, and it slowly but surely it brings us into a science. Yeah, but imagine here, this one here, this is soul therapy pyramids, my mats, and all those things that I put together. But we have thousands of these all over the earth, yeah, where people listen to the pujas and everything. And that's an invisible energetic field, an etheric field, a field no one knows exists. Yeah, they look at the pyramid and they go, whoa, that is pretty. That's energy. That really, I could feel that. That's amazing. What is this? What's this about? And then I put out mats, I put out vajras, I put out all these things within the science, and people get involved in it. It's good for personal healing, but it's designed for planetary healing. And it works. It works. Yeah. So by putting these out, and after time, these have gone all throughout the planet, and they're vibrating, oscillating on the planet, and they're creating people, new people, creating people. Yeah. And in the process, there's an enormous number of people out there that are atheists who cannot feel this shit. And if they come across it, they get angry. They get upset. Yeah. They defend whatever they got going on. And all those things are demonic. Yeah. And they have no idea because their lower mind is in their emotional body, you know. So they don't have answers. Yeah. They don't have any answers at all. Yeah. They just have this situation. So from there, I create that. A whole planetary healing center. Yeah. Sitting in a very unlikely place, you know, Kelseyville, Lake County, yeah, near Clear Lake. But Clear Lake is the largest lake of California. And it's the oldest lake, if not the second oldest lake on planet Earth. Yeah. Which means the location where we have all these geysers and where we have all this ancient bones and really old wood and all this kind of stuff, because it's millions and millions and millions of years old and never been changed. Yeah, this stuff sits on top of the ground. You know, all from this location down to Santa Rosa, going to the coastline, is all based on extremely ancient life that hasn't really changed. Yeah, so putting a center here, you know, helps. And being that this is the oldest lake and all that, a lake, as an American Indian, we see lakes as mirrors. Yeah, they're mirrors to the cosmos. Yeah, so we want to be near lake, not just for fish, not just for hunting, not just for life, yeah, and for water, but we want to be near a lake because it has a relationship of bringing heaven on earth. Yeah, so then we do good, holy things near that lake. Yeah, we have family. We salutations to the sun every day, north, south, east, west. All the elements we give prayer every day, every single day. We give refuge to the earth. Yeah, and we do it next to a lake. Yeah, and we learn by looking at the lake, and we look up and we see the stars, and we can see the connection between stars and earth, and that's geomancy. We start seeing mathematics. We can see north, south. We start laying down sun lines, you know, how the working of the sun works. We have the solstice. We have winter solstice, summer solstice. All these things American Indians have worked out. Yeah, but yet people go, wow, these are just savages. You know, they have hardly any understanding of real science, real technology. But they do. They have earth science, earth technology, earth communication, and earth regeneration. Yeah. So they are next to a lake, or they're next to a stream, or they're on a mountain. Yeah. And they do vital relationships to that. So that in itself, if you do it at a place like this, where you're at the oldest place, and you set up a pyramid like this, then you're going into the sacred zone of the earth. And whatever's sacred here goes into this pyramid, and it transmits out. So maybe there's a lot of places that are not pure. A lot of places. Here we have the Pomo Indians. The Pomo Indians are the number one Indians in all of America who have never been to war. They've never had a hostile experience in their life. Yeah. They make the best baskets on earth. Yeah. Because they're monadically connected. They're 42,000 years old in this location. Lived here 42,000 years. Yeah. That's older than any group of American Indians on this continent. Yeah. Pomo Indians. Yeah. Right here, this location in Kelseyville. Yeah. Yeah. And Clear Lake is where they lived. Yeah. All of Clear Lake was the Pomo area. Yeah. So this is a land of peace for 40,000 years. Yeah. Not held by one government, but a telepathic union between people, collectively reincarnating and coming into bringing peace. And it's coming out of the earth is what's bringing those people peace. It's the earth, the oldest lake. These people are moved by God to go to Clear Lake and live for 40,000 years. There's a reason for that, to heal the earth, to bring union to all the other Indians in the United States, yeah, to heal them, because this is a non-warlike group, yeah. So that's what's here. That's what permeates out of this place. So then I go to this place, and I go to Nepal, and I hang out in Nepal. But Nepal is not just Nepal. Nepal is like Kelseyville. Just like Kelseyville, yeah. And it used to have a mountaintop, yeah, and it had enormous earthquakes, yeah, and volcanoes that's under the earth, yeah, that would erupt and create enormous earthquakes, which still happen in Nepal. But it was the place that I incarnated as Manjushri, one of the very first Buddhas, yeah, and lived there and had a telepathic rapport with the left-hand path. Yeah, that was where Nepal, all of Kathmandu, the area of Kathmandu, was the house of the left-hand path. Yeah, doesn't mean that it's evil or anything like that. It just means that there's not a lot of heavenly reality on planet Earth, and that where heavenly reality is going to exist or does exist, like where temples are at and things like that, quite often it gets hit by evil. So evil comes in and wipes away the temple, wipes away the belief and the understanding, the education and the reincarnation of people who go there. Yeah. So in Nepal, in this place, this is the place where they build bodhistupa. Bodhistupa is built by Padmasambhava's family, a lineage of Padmasambhava. But he has to come to Nepal to do this. Yeah. Because this place goes all the way back to Gautama Buddha, who lived in Nepal. It goes back to Milarepa, who lived in Nepal. Yeah, it goes back to Padmasambhava, who lived in Nepal. Yeah, it goes back to Manjushri, who lived in Nepal. Yeah, and it was Manjushri. My incarnation is Manjushri, one of the very early Buddhas. Yeah, and fighting demons that were sitting all throughout Nepal. Yeah. All of Nepal was taken over by demons in a large lake, yeah, and everything in that lake was settled as demonic spirit, yeah. But in all of it was holding back the holiness that was hidden in the lake, yeah, which is the Nagas, yeah, and no one could relate to that because the demons were so much. They were in the caves, they were in the mountains, they were everywhere, and they were in the lake. Yeah, so you couldn't really go in the lake. You really couldn't walk the land or the mountains because the demons would curse you and you'd live a terrible life. Yeah, and you'd die horribly. Yeah, So for many times, incarnations would take place. Gautama would incarnate there. Before Gautama, he incarnated there. By the time he was 16 years old, he had to give his body to these tigers in order to reduce the amount of evil karma that was on that land. Manjushri had to actually create an earthquake so immense that all the water left the lake and killed the demons. And it left them laying there dying. Yeah, there was no way for them to survive. And the only ones that survived were the Nagas. And they would regenerate and reincarnate as dakinis. Yeah. So that was an evolution that we didn't have on Earth. We had suppressed elementals, yeah, that were Devic. Yeah, in an evolutionary, from animal to human to angelic. This is how we whirl. That's how manifestation works. Like you can see birds. Birds are an angelic process of the evolution of mankind. They used to be, dinosaurs. I mean, come on. Yeah. So it's an evolutionary aspect of the angelic quality that's going from left-hand spin to right-hand spin. Does that make sense? Yeah. So all of this, the same thing is happening in Kathmandu. And all that, over there, we see a lot of all the temples and all the history of Buddhism and all, because it comes from this long warfare of bringing peace on earth. The incarnations would come to do that. So here I am now in America, yeah, in Kathmandu, or not Kathmandu, but in Kelseyville. But yet I have monasteries in Kathmandu. I'm recognized as all my previous lives, Milarepa, Manjushri, all these in Kathmandu, yeah. So that blessing is waking up the planet, yeah. And it's now coming into this place, which is America, where industry and all the things of corruption and so many bad things could take over this continent and wipe away the rest of the world. Yeah, just by fostering greed and capitalism. Yeah, but that's not what's going to happen. Yeah, because of this healing center, this being built, and this being my past lives, and creating the temples and changing demons into awakened spirits. Yeah, to where the influence that here now in Buddhism, it's much more the relationship of people being able to overthrow the process of what goes on the lower level of humanity, whether it be governments or political understanding or even economic understanding. It's really Buddhism that makes that change. Yeah, and so it's an awakening, this process, all the way in Kathmandu. Thousands of years this had gone on. Thousands of years, way before Jesus, way before Gautama Buddha, thousands of years this has gone on. So all of that is being recapitulated into what we call America. Yeah. And now this is being blessed and creates a government that allows us to have capitals in every state, and each one of those things are in relationship to Buddha, Christ, the temple builder. Yeah. The guy who does this sort of thing and sits next to those sort of things. And those look like Capitol buildings. Yeah. Those domes represent a stupa. And they bring that sacred influence, whether you're ignorant as shit and you have no idea what I'm talking about, the truth will set you free. Because there is a science to the process of humanity and awakening the inner governing body, yeah, which is Buddhism. Yeah, it's an awakening of the fifth kingdom, and when we get into that kingdom, we change everything. It's automatic. Everything begins to transcend the limitations where anger and hostility and craziness will come in. The only reason why all this craziness is happening, because we're having a purging of the process of this energy. Stupidity. It's the death of ignorance. Yeah? The purpose of the seven rays, the purpose of esoteric science, the only purpose is the death of ignorance. Yeah? Why would I be coming as Buddha, the most enlightened being on the planet? I am definitely not ignorant. Yeah? And my representation and the light that I put out is to dissolve ignorance, to dispel glamours, and to allow people to receive back their love, their self-love, by self-governing. Self-governing. Minimalism, choices, free will. Yeah? When you get back your free will, and you'll find out what it really is used for, is joy, peace, compassion, caring, sharing. That's where you get to your happiness, is from caring and sharing and helping others. Yeah? Not like Jared, no, you can't use my toilet. Not like the Dalai Lama, no, you can't use my toilet. None of that. All of that is governing. What governs your emotions, what governs your lack of ability to become enlightened in a world of enlightenment. You have a whole history of Jesus the Christ. You have a history of Krishna. You have a history of God walking this earth. How can you be ignorant? Yeah? It's all about recapitulation. Once you're recapitulated, you'll get to this point and you'll realize and discern all on your own that sucker's a demon and he lied to me. And those demons got in me and I believed it because I was just like him. Yeah? Does that make sense? All right, let's pray. We shall pray now or forever hold your peace. Okay. So just as a reminder, when I ask you to say, thank you for bringing me here, it's actually based on death and rebirth. Yeah. So no one wants to die, and no one wants to suffer, and no one wants to go through bad things. Yeah. And when you die, you find out what those things were about. You're given the truth. Yeah. And you become aware of the fact of what an asshole you might have been, and you were in league with the devil, and when you come back, you have an opportunity. Deep inside, that awareness comes out, starts to become aware, and in that, this takes a long time, but in that process, an agreement of I will do better. It comes out of people, yeah. I promise not to do it again. Well, they go back, and if they do it again, when I see them when they come back, and they didn't do better, things get worse. And it's not my fault, it's not God's fault. It's just the collective imperil that they keep taking back to the earth, So the process of that, if you read the Bible, God floods the earth. Yeah. God wipes out, cities. Yeah. And takes away, scenarios that you don't expect to happen. Yeah. Because the will of God is greater than, just allowing, just thinking, whoa, I'll just let them do whatever they want, let all hell break loose and let the devil reign, And that's just like in this case, how much worse would it be if Trump was to be reelected and be on there? How much further would we go back? And how much farther would we go forward as a militia? And how much more would he get people to agree on things that are so destructive? Pipelines, oil, everything. Yeah? Because he has no interest in making changes in that way. And he's only interested in doing it on his own. So imagine how much in another 4 years, hell on earth, this guy could have brought forth. How many more people would have died? Because right now Biden's going 100%. I'm going to buy all of it. I'm going to get it out there, and I'm going to make it illegal for you not to wear a mask. And if you're in the government, you're going to be charged $500 every single time you're seen not wearing a mask. Yeah. And if you come through the gate and you're found with a gun on you, you're going to be charged $5,000, and the gun will be taken. Yeah. And there's no more tolerance, for evil, because you want to give people leeway, because liberal, allow people to make their own decision whether they wear a mask or don't wear a mask, carry a gun and don't carry a gun, and all these things that are written in the rights that create this opportunity to happen in the first place. And that needs to be changed. Yeah. So we haven't got a lot going on other than reincarnation, people. So God has put a lot into the effect of trying to save this earth by pushing reincarnation. If you look at the hippie period, you'll see a lot of the people who are the very tops in rock and roll, Elvis Presley, John Lennon, most of all the main people who are in the tops, really angelic people who lived hard lives. Elvis Presley was not an easy life. Yeah. Buddy Holly, beautiful guy, fantastic, died at 24. Yeah. Most of these people died at 27, 28, 29. Yeah. And it's not like, oh, this is such an evil world, they take away those people. Nope. They played their part for that life. It's not about them. Yeah. It's about them raising the planet up. Yeah. And having that inside the hearts of people. Yeah. You can listen to Elvis Presley's song. You're listening to the top minister on earth. The top minister. That's all he ever wanted to be. He wanted to be a minister. Yeah. He wanted to sing in a choir. On his own, he never sang any other song than God. Yeah, that's all he did was sing to God, praise to God. And he loved it so much. Yeah. There isn't, John Lennon, his whole process was God. And he got to a point to where he didn't believe in God at all anymore because of the relationship he was in. But because of right relationships, we know the Beatles, and we know the outcome of love. What happens when people love each other, care for each other, do for each other, work together, get creative, and what comes out of that? It's amazing. Yeah. So we have a whole series of a generation that created music that elevated humanity, beyond anybody's wildest dream. And all saying, peace on earth, it's a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new world a-coming, all these beautiful lyrics. That let's end the war, I can't do it again, put down our guns, all those beautiful lyrics. And everybody sang to it. They were number one. Yeah. And that's our heart. We are all very much in love with love. Yeah, we take it very easily if it's provided correctly. Yeah, if it's presented in a good way. Yeah, without it really ripping us apart. You know, that you're all wrong and you got to change and all these things. But if you give ceremony and you give invocation, you create an evocation. And that's the science. Yeah. So all these people incarnate and then they come back. Yeah. And they came and went, and that was in the 60s. Yeah. John Lennon left in what, 81? Was that 81? I think it was 81. Yeah. Yeah. Elvis Presley, 1977. Yeah. Buddy Holly, 1952. Yeah. And it's a lot of people. Yeah. And all those influences that were brought into those lives were Rinpoches. Extremely high, ceremonial, high beings, you know, that took a new incarnation in a new place to be a part of a collective consciousness in people. Yeah. Thank you, God, for bringing me here. Yeah. That's their process. Yeah. It's not a process of the way we think of it. You know, so when I'm telling you, repeat after me, thank you, God, for bringing me here, it's to help you understand how death works and how reincarnation works. And that's where the will of God sits. Yeah? You know, so we all have to be really at peace with death. Yeah? Not against it, not afraid of it or anything like that, because that's God. Yeah? And we have to be really at peace with our incarnation. Yeah? Because that's God. Yeah? We may think once we're incarnated, it's our choice. Everything's our choice. Color of clothes, male, female, all that's our choice. But it's not true. It's just like life and death. And it's in the in-between place. We lose it. Yeah? So our process is to receive through recapitulation the efforts that came through this cycle of all these people that incarnated with me. These people that Elvis Presley, when he incarnated, he was just 10 years ahead of me. Yeah. And John was just 4 years ahead of me. Yeah. Everybody was pretty much, we're all in the same cycle, same generation. Yeah. And we're an enormous lot of people that manifested, and it was all about God putting us on earth. And everybody started talking about God. Yeah. A relationship of God and love and peace and harmony and all this kind of good stuff. Let's end war. You know, let's bring about a better political reality. Let's not hate each other. Yeah. All those things were brought through the invocations of people reincarnating. Yeah. And when they leave their body, that impression, whether it be Elvis Presley or anybody, Jesus Christ, everybody, when you leave your body, it radiates out. Yeah. And it goes back into a cycle, into life. Yeah. So that person's going to reincarnate. And our life in that future is all about the blessings that that person brought now in this life and is now bringing back in the next life. So then we start seeing things and we don't understand as to why things are happening so wonderfully, so fast. Because we lived through a generation of saints, and we weren't aware of it. Yeah, all the rock and roll stars, 80% of them were reincarnated saints, living right out of the Jesus period. You know, talking with Babaji, sitting with Jesus, living with Krishna, chanting God. You know, all of that is part of that process of what came down. And it was reincarnation. It's really hard. Imagine people when they die, they reincarnate, but, you know, you can't bring people back together again. Yeah. There's this, you die, you're 20 years old, and the person that you would love to be hanging with is 80 years old and soon to leave their body. Yeah. And they leave and they come back. And then you get to meet them, you know, maybe when they're 18 years old, but now you're 55 years old, you know. So there's this big chasm between right relationship. and ceremonial order, which is based on death and reincarnation. Yeah? If we come in contact with God while we're alive, we allow God to control our life and bring us into life and out of life. And when we get to the next life, we're on the exactly right time. Yeah? And now other people are dying and coming back, and we're all finding each other at ages that are much more similar and unexpected. Just like that hippie period. Where did all those people come from? Yeah? It was a long series of times of Tibet of teaching reincarnation to Rinpoches. And all their students of believing in those Rinpoches that would believe in reincarnation. Yeah? And they would go through this process after a couple thousand years. They slowly but surely integrated into a mass group. And they collectively now begin to reincarnate as a group. They leave their bodies in their very little separation of 10 to 15 years. When I came back in Tibetan Buddhism, all my students disincarnated immediately. It was really weird. All I had was kids in front of me. Yeah, I had a few older students, but most of them where I'd meet an old man, they'd be dead in a year, and back the little baby. And now I have to help integrate this whole thing, of helping this Rinpoche and helping that one, and not even having know them, but telepathically I'm aware of them because they're popping out of everywhere. The Karmapa dies, and I'm now responsible for the incarnation of 3 Karmapas, and I'm responsible for the incarnation of every living master on earth. And my thing is to bring them together in a collective, real world. Yeah, and that's what's happening, and that's my effect on the earth. Yeah, but no one even knows that that's going on, and that's why when my blessing goes out, I say, you should say to me, thank you for bringing me here. And I'm not saying thank you for bringing me into this room so that you can hang out with me. No, thank you for killing me, taking my life, severing the life that I had. Thank you for bringing me back to life in a reincarnation and a better life than I had previously, and setting up my relationships so I'd be in a better world with love and kind, generous people in my life. Yeah, and that's where we're going, people. That's where we're going. No one's in charge of this but God. But God. And God is really taking an enormous synthesis of focus upon the influences that's coming against the Antichrist through the relationship of all the Antichrists that come out during the time of the coming of the Christ. So that's an enormous influence of God's blessing in order to serve humanity so that they would serve the Christ rather than the Antichrist. It's a real testament of humanity's thank you, God, for bringing me here. And God is willfully putting out a lot in ways that you would not expect, and not in any way that would harm you, but in ways that would change you so that you could take the soul, bring it into your body, and you could live a longer life. Yeah? It's better than having to die young so that you could reincarnate with people you're better off to be with, because none of you agree with the soul. If you agreed with the soul, you would be allowed to live for hundreds of years, and you'd never miss anybody. You'd find everybody throughout your life. Yeah? And then when you die, you'd very likely die at very similar processes. Yeah? Yeah. So let's pray. Thank you all for coming here. Yeah. Okay, repeat after me. Lord Jesus the Christ, thank you for bringing me here. Lord Jesus the Christ, I open my heart today. I invite you to come inside. Come inside, Lord Jesus the Christ, and save my life. Receive me today as a child of God. forgive all my sins, and write my name in the book of life. I give myself to you, my spirit, my soul, my body. Receive me, O Jesus the Christ. Now, the devil, the blood of Jesus the Christ is against you. I command you now to leave me. I do not belong to you. I am God's property. Leave my life. I disassociate myself from you. I renounce every evil covenant I have entered in with you. In the name of Jesus the Christ, I have received salvation. I am a child of God. Amen. Okay, so now we're going to do puja. This is a great invocation. So you should listen to this pretty clearly. This is everything that I explained about how God is the creator of death, and God is the creator of life, and God is the tree of life, and God is in charge of everything, and God is all things. Yeah, so in this invocation, due to the fact that people have taken relationship with Satan just by behavior, mind, and consciousness circumstances, yeah, God goes through an enormous series of processes to create a lesser and lesser beingness of himself in order to penetrate humanity. So he enters through the mind. Yeah. And just like I do, I talk to you, I say things, I show you things. Because I can't get into your emotions. I can't get past your physical way of thinking. Yeah. Because all those things are lower mind, yeah, and it's your body, and you think it's your body, and you think it's your mind, but it's not true, yeah. So in this invocation, I explain that we're invoking God, and we're asking God to bless all of humanity through God's mind, and have God's mind into your mind, as the mind of love, yeah, because God is all love, yeah. So that's what this is about, and it's everything that I teach, yeah, that we're going through initiations, we're going to go through this thing, but the main thing is that God creates death and life and changes the world. People reincarnate, and God literally has a plan and plucks people out of the world and puts them back in the world to fulfill that plan. So you need to cheer up and be a part of it. Get in the game. Yeah. Enjoy yourself. Appreciate it. Yeah. Because God put you here. Yeah. And then all you got to do is thank you for bringing me here. That makes sense? Yeah. Cool. All right. So now close your eyes.
Let the forces of light bring illumination to mankind. Let the spirit of peace be spread abroad. May humanity of goodwill everywhere meet in a spirit of cooperation. May forgiveness on the part of all mankind be the keynote at this time. Let power attend the efforts of the great ones. So let it be, and help us do our part. I invoke the holy archangels of heaven. Let the lords of liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of mankind. Let the rider from the sacred place come forth. And come, say, come forth, O mighty one. Let the souls of mankind awaken to the light. And may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of the woe has come. Come forth, O mighty one. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O mighty one. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O mighty one, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of mankind. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of mankind. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, a purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of mankind, let the plan of love and light work out. And may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not to hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form, and let life and all events, and bring forth to light the love which underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavage be gone. Let love prevail. Let all mankind love.
Okay, just relax. Okay, open your eyes. All right. That's it, folks. Have a nice evening. Yeah. Enjoy. Things are changing in dramatic ways. And things are going to happen in very dramatic ways. You know, and you need to support people to wake up and be calm. You know, do not use your emotional body. Yeah. Let it relax. Have it become your sentient body. Totally different thing. It is the name of your emotional body if you really want to go along with the flow, you know, with Christ. It's not an emotional body, energy and motion. It has nothing to do with anything like that. It's a sentient body. It raises everything up. Yeah? It sees. It does not have prejudice. It sees. All things are sentient. All things. Machines are sentient. Animals are sentient. Trees are sentient. And your emotional body is the only thing that knows that because it's sentient. Yeah? And every tree you go near has an emotional body. A sentient body. Every animal has a sentient body. It has territorial, it has mind, it has all that. But it is in the sentient body that it's expressed, that it receives and it transmits, and it's everything in the sentient body. You know, so in an esoteric way we have different terms for things, and we don't even use the term emotional body. Yeah. And we don't go on to the thought of the lower mind. Yeah. We only think in terms of sentient body. All of our invocations are to raise every sentient being to a sentient state. Yeah. And that's the soul. You know, without that, you don't have the soul. So that is the working out of a plan, is to change things from our very emotional, lower mind and physical suffering scenario that comes from these things. And as we wake up, we're going to come to realize we do not have an emotional body. That was then, and this is now. Yeah. And when we finally wake up into this fifth kingdom, yeah, it is a kingdom without an emotional body. Doesn't mean that we don't get passionate. Yeah. Doesn't mean we don't love things. Yeah. Doesn't mean we don't get all excited when something right happens and we're so joyful and blissful and all those things. Those are sentient qualities. They have nothing to do with your emotional body. They would not trigger you to slap somebody. They would not trigger you to think prejudiced thoughts of someone just because you have a biased mind. And you have a tendency to project and assume, you know, faults in people, finding faults and assuming faults, and then using your whole entire brain just to think of faults. Yeah, it's terrible. That is not a sentient brain, that is not a higher brain, and it's all emotional body, and lowering the brain down to the lower body. Yeah, and then it looks at everybody as a lower person. Yeah. And there's no way to not do that unless you wake up your sentient body. And that's what we're doing here. So enjoy. Yeah. I'm Buddha. I am from the fifth kingdom, yeah, and all of you are going to die and reincarnate and meet me there, yeah. And if you could do that while you're alive, I'd be even happier. But I'm not going to waste any illusion on the fact that that's going to, you know, be the way. Yeah. The way that it works is through death and reincarnation. It's a transmigration of the soul. It is the time that you do meet Christ. It gives you an opportunity for redemption. And when you come back, you repent. And you will live a life of a better option with many opportunities and circumstances that you'll find yourself to be the better person than you've ever been, the better angel that you've ever thought you'd be, yeah, and that the world is a much better place. Enjoy.